Hey ladies and gents, welcome back. This is going to be part 2 to What If Naruto Was a Vampire. This is going to be the final part, and with that being said, let's just jump right into the what if itself, where we left off, which was pretty much at the beginning of Shippuden. So, over this pretty much like 2.5-3 year time skip, I don't remember, I think it's 2.5, 3, I don't remember, but it doesn't really matter. Naruto would be obviously spending most of his time not training, but instead he would be pretty much just trying to not only perfect his vampire powers, but also he would be going to different villages on missions and different things like that, make shadow clones, and try and pretty much convert the entire village into vampires. Now, one of these times, pretty early on, honestly, into the Shippuden break, like probably a year or two into it, like we'll say halfway through. So Naruto is, he's pretty old now, but he's not like 16 or anything like that, like he was at the beginning of Shippuden. He would, get caught doing this. He's in, let's say, okay, not let's say, but okay. He's trying to do it to the Raikage because Naruto's smart like that, and he's like, yeah, this is gonna work out. He's totally just gonna let me bite him, right? But obviously that doesn't happen, and the Raikage would counter this and ask Naruto what the hell he was doing. He would then begin trying to fight Naruto when he doesn't really come up with an answer for him. And all of the vampire thralls that Naruto has had so far, he's already been in this village for probably about 2 or 3 weeks at this point on this mission, and all of the ones that he already has begin attacking the Raikage too, and then the Raikage sees that Naruto seems to have some sort of power to make others join him and under pretty much a hypnosis, but it seems much more powerful than a regular genjutsu. He takes pretty much notice of this, but soon enough, more and more of Naruto's vampire thralls would end up joining the fight, and they pretty quickly begin to overpower the Raikage. Now, with this actually happening, B and people like that, I'm gonna say, haven't been converted, really strong people that Naruto would have more trouble doing, so would save for later, so he has more people to help him. So Naruto would then be fighting against B and the Raikage with all of his thralls, but something else would actually happen. Somebody else shows up. It's a member of the Akatsuki. It's Obito. He isn't fighting or anything of that sort. He's more so just, witnessing the fight at this point. He's nobody can even see him at this point. This is just me talking about him showing up and looking around and what his opinions on the matter are going to be. Now, he obviously knows that Naruto's the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki at this point, and he is thinking in this moment that he has to capture Naruto right now, at this moment, before he gets too powerful, because he is obviously incredibly overpowered if he's literally just taking over, an entire village. So he decides that he needs to do this now, before Naruto actually, ages into, an adult. He needs to still be a kid when he's going to be able to do this. So the fight between the Raikage, B, and Naruto would continue on until Naruto is, at the breaking point of beating them. Both of them are on the ground. B has already used most of his chakra, and Naruto's pretty much standing there unharmed because of all of his lifesteal hacks. He can kind of just hit you once and be at full health, and he's kind of chilling like that. So Naruto's at complete full chakra, full levels of everything, and this is where Obito and Pain show up. Now, this is all of Pain, not Nagato, he's at a different location, but the 6 Paths of Pain and Obito show up for this fight, and Naruto sees them. The Raikage and B aren't really going to be doing anything anymore. B might eventually get healed by the 8 Tails, but he wouldn't really have any chakra to use, so it wouldn't really help him too much anyway against this really powerful version of Naruto. So, when Pain and Obito begin to approach Naruto, obviously Naruto kind of knows a little bit about who they are. He has been in every village and has conquered half of them already. He would know who the Akatsuki are. He has his information because of how many people he has pretty much completely subservient to him. So he knows immediately who they are, but he doesn't really know anything about their abilities. But he does know that Pain has the Renegon, but it doesn't really matter because he can see it anyway now that he's in front of him, so whatever. So, the fight would then begin with Naruto's vampire thralls pretty much just being held off by the summons of the actual, 6 paths, and Naruto himself with a bunch of his shadow clones trying to fight the 6 paths of Pain, while Obito kind of just watches from the background to see if he needs to help Pain or not. So Naruto's fighting him, and obviously speaking, considering it's hundreds, maybe even thousands at this point, of people that are working under Naruto, the summons are taken out pretty easily, and they then join Naruto in his fight, and they take down all of the paths of Pain minus the Diva path. This is where Obito decides that he has to join in the fight, and this is where Naruto actually starts to get serious. He knows somewhat about, what the Akatsuki is supposed to be, and has heard rumors that this person might be Madara, and one of the strongest people in shinobi history, just in general. So Naruto decides to take this fight completely seriously, as this black mist begins to pretty much surround Naruto, and this pretty much orb pretty much crosses around him. Naruto draws a line in front of him and tells Obito if he crosses this line, the fight is going to begin. Obito, thinking Naruto isn't really much, he's 14, 15 years old at this point, so whatever. He walks forward, crossing the line. Naruto speeds towards him, and the second Obito enters this weird mist that he's inside of, he can't see anything. He's completely blinded before he feels a massive impact on his, pretty much torso. He gets punched by Naruto and sent flying across. Now he has his visibility back since he can, see again, but he's really confused as to why he couldn't, use Kamui while he was doing that, and figures it's just because of the blindness, and this is actually might be a perfect counter to Naruto for doing this, but if Obito materializes before Naruto, enters his zone, it doesn't really matter. So, their fight would continue with neither of them really being able to land any meaningful hits. Obito might land one hit every once in a while, but they wouldn't do enough damage for Naruto not just be able to lifesteal a hit. But that hit wouldn't deal that much damage, and Obito would be able to phase through most of them because of how fast his reaction speed would be. So this fight would be a massive endurance test for the both of them, which Naruto, just to put simply, because of the Nine Tails and because of just everything about him and his lifesteal, he would have more endurance and durability and all that kind of stuff than Obito, and would eventually win the fight. However, Obito decides to retreat into the Kamui dimension last second, instead of phasing into it with certain body parts. He just goes into it and leaves, because he ain't dealing with that just yet. He needs more backup. So, Nagato is still alive. That is where Obito teleports. He gets Nagato. Later on, they'll probably retrieve the bodies of the paths of Pain and, reconstitute them for what they are going to be. But Naruto quickly realizes that he might have to train a little bit more. He needs to get stronger because that was a really close fight. He was going to win, but if Obito joined the fight earlier and he wasn't just dealing with that one path of Pain too, he would have had a massive issue with that fight, especially if there were others involved. So Naruto realizes that he's probably going to have to train a little bit and develop maybe some sort of new ability, but he doesn't really know what exactly it is going to be yet. So, another probably around a year would pass by. Naruto's just kind of chilling in the village at this point. Also, other than Akatsuki members like Obito, Itachi, really powerful ones, pretty much the big main three, Obito, Itachi, and Nagato, everybody in just anywhere is controlled by Naruto and all of his shadow clones. Literally everybody. Everybody has been training at this point for the last year and a half now to just hopefully get as strong as possible and try to do what they can. At this point, I am actually going to say something quite interesting. Obito managed to get his other Sharingan back from Kakashi by like pretty much just like teleporting in, stealing it, and noping the fuck out of there before anybody like came up on him. So he has both of his Sharingan. Obviously Itachi would be like almost dead at this point. I don't think he might be able to get EMS, but I don't like we can say he'll get EMS just for the sake of it, because otherwise they stand absolutely no chance. Because, and we'll say we'll say he's pretty much just like his revived self, like when he gets revived with the Edo Tensei, whatever it is. So yeah, that's exactly like what their power levels are, and we'll say it's the same for Nagato. Just, you know, we'll give him a chance. Come on. So all of this happens. This means Sasuke really isn't on the team because his eyes are gone, so he isn't really doing anything. So, or Kakashi, but it doesn't really matter. Naruto's going to be the big heavy hitter here. So over Naruto's training, what did he develop? What did he do? And how strong is he now? Well, something of, I guess, minor interest is that he did befriend the Ninetales, like, completely. Like, he undid the seal, did all of that, and can completely use it to his heart's content. He has Sage Mode, so he can use, like, KCM2 Sage Mode shit. You know, he's cool like that. But one more thing, and this is more of the vampire side of Naruto, is he kind of like awakened an ability, I guess you could say, or developed it, I guess, it evolved, whatever you want to call it, into pretty much just freezing powers. Like, Naruto, whenever he's just like walking around, he can emit like, it pretty much feels like he's emitting a bloodlust. But in reality, it literally is like if you're within like a 10-foot radius of Naruto, when he does this, you're pretty much just gonna get frozen solid, unless you're like insanely overpowered, which, you know, happens to be the people he's fighting. But people like Itachi, if he's not in like a Susanoo or something like that, he might be able to just freeze and then fucking just kill, because he can just shatter it. So that's something to note in case you are interested in that. And also, obviously, he'd be able to use his ice powers for more than just that. Like, he can like shoot stuff, and like, you know, he can do stuff like that. And his life drain is also like a ranged ability now. Like when he uses like Rasen Shuriken or like any ranged attack, anything with like chakra or anything like that, it also activates a life steal for Naruto if he's able to get that hit in. So pretty much they just show up in the village. Now, it's, like I said, Obito, Itachi, and Nagato showing up at this point, and they show up at the Leaf Village. At this point, it is a little bit after Shippuden started. Naruto at this point is, like, in a more teen adult, like, young adult body, so he would be much stronger than he was before because of this, like, development of muscles and, like, all of the working out Naruto has been doing over the past year just to, like, strengthen his physical body. Naruto is going to be physically stronger, like much more so than any of the three people that he is going to be fighting. So that's what Naruto is going to take advantage of. Activating that same thing that Naruto used before that causes blindness in his opponents, he charges towards Itachi at complete full speed, thinking that this might be the easiest one. Itachi quickly activates a perfect Susanoo. Remember, he's had like a year of training with EMS minus a sickness. He'd probably be able to do it. If not, it would just be stamina problems, but just for the sake of him, we're gonna say he can, just because Madara was able to before he got Rinnegan, so therefore Itachi should, in theory, be able to too. So, when he activates the perfect, you know, Susanoo, Naruto then goes into his KCM2 avatar plus Sage mode, still with that like barrier pretty much around him, so if he can like get it in range of Itachi, it will like deactivate everything and he'll just kill him, which is exactly what he's going to do. He pretty much just tackles, you know, the Susanoo down, and this gets his body in range of Itachi's because they're pretty close to one another because they are both positioned at the head, and this deactivates the Susanoo and any abilities because of the blindness that it causes, because that's just how I'm going to say it works. Otherwise, you know, come on, it wouldn't be an OP power if Naruto wasn't in it, but whatever. So, this deactivates the power. Naruto grabs Itachi and just crushes him in his hand, dropping him to the ground. He's not really going to be an issue in this fight anymore. This completely heals Naruto when he, like, does this, so he's at full strength once again, and he then charges towards Nagato, which he sees as his second opponent because he knows that Obito was stronger in their last fight. Nagato wouldn't really be able to develop that many abilities. Like, he has more chakra levels and stuff like that, but like, what's he going to be able to do? Naruto easily overpowers pretty much any Rinnegan abilities, and he would pretty much just be like a support at this point, and he would be able to like heal Obito if he needed to. But that ain't going to be happening since Naruto deals with him too, like pretty easily. And this leaves Obito as the last and only remaining obstacle. Now, like I said, Obito has developed the like EMS pretty much at this point, or not EMS, but like, you know, not eternal, but he has double Mangekyo Sharingan that did, just because we saw Kakashi do it, evolve into the perfect Susanoo, even though he had, you know, like 6 paths powers. We're just gonna say he can do it anyway. So he gets all of those powers, plus he can like combine Kamui with like Shuriken and stuff like that. We'll just give him just for the sake of it. But his speed would be absolutely nothing to Naruto at this point. When Naruto enters KCM like 2 Sage mode, he is so like stupidly fast. Naruto in base, before using any of like the Ninetales powers, is faster than he was in like 6 Path Sage mode as an adult, just because Naruto is cracked like that. Naruto's just cool. So Obito just wouldn't be able to hit him with any Kamui anything. And because of the fact that he can't really react to Naruto whenever he enters his KCM avatar, it doesn't really matter if his chakra gets sucked away, because he has pretty much an infinite amount of it if he lands a single hit on Obito. This means that Naruto eventually would be able to get in range of Obito and the perfect Susanoo, and eventually, like I said, this would probably take a while, like a good while, because just of the endurance that Obito would be able to have during this fight. Naruto would be able to get in range with his bubble, deactivating Obito's power. Naruto sends him flying into the ground with a massive slam, you know, pretty much just sending him chucking down. He goes down like hundreds of feet, making this massive crater, and he lies there at the bottom of that pit, like just pretty much forever. Naruto pretty much would rule the world at this point. Kaguya would have no chance of ever being brought back, just because who's going to do that? Black Zetsu, when Naruto is in control of every single person on the planet? I don't think so, bud. And also, Naruto's power is so much like higher than his actual Hokage days by the time the Otsutsuki would arrive, that Naruto would just absolutely shit on them, and it doesn't even really matter. Naruto would probably have kids with somebody. I don't know if it's Hinata or who it's going to be. And pretty much it would just be like a monarchy where Naruto and his kids would just kind of rule over everybody else. So, yeah. That's where I'm going to leave this last part off, and I'll see you guys in whatever my next video happens to be.